It's Billie Rae Bates for Fantastic Forum at AwesomeCon, about to learn more about the Museum of Science Fiction. Have you heard about the Museum of Science Fiction? Well, Mandy is here to tell me about it, and I guess you too. So Mandy, what is up with this?
It's a local DC nonprofit. Our real mission is to inspire people to get interested in STEM, but more than STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, but also the arts. And we think science fiction is the perfect way to draw people in between that intersection of science and art where we think innovation happens. And so we created this museum concept to create a venue where we can create that space between science and art and offer programming, exhibitions, and so on to kind of inspire the future.
How long has this been in the works?
The idea was conceived by our founder, Greg Vigiano, in April of 2013, and so we've come a long way. We are almost 200 volunteers strong. We're 100% volunteer run, and in that short period of time, we've pulled together pretty much everything we need to open our preview museum.
And what kinds of things, like for instance, okay, you're here displaying at AwesomeCon, which is Land of the Geeks. Got lots of great geeks who probably want to learn more about science and science fiction. So what kinds of things would, say, maybe a Star Trek fan love in the displays when the museum opens up?
Well, I think Star Trek fans are going to love to see, display objects from Star Trek, like various versions of the Enterprise. I think they're going to love to see multimedia interviews with celebrities and people behind the scenes in Star Trek, but I think they're also going to be drawn to some of our programming. We've piloted some programming already in the area, and we had a Star Trek writer, Morgan Gintel, who wrote The Inner Light, come and give essentially a seminar to folks interested and who follow the museum to learn more about how that story came to be.
That is so cool. Something to look forward to. Okay, also we have a couple things coming up. The Future of Travel. Tell us about that.
The Future of Travel is our first physical exhibition at Reagan National Airport. We have created, with the help of a model maker called BP Taylor, a Orion 3 spaceplane from 2001, and this is really going to be, kind of the centerpiece of that exhibition, and we are so pleased to bring it there. But in addition to that, we'll have these amazing retro futuristic posters for places we could travel in the solar system like Pluto and Saturn, and a mobile app that visitors to the exhibit can download their intergalactic passport.
And I know as part of your display here, you've got a little virtual reality, and it looks like it's been pretty popular, huh?
I have just been so delighted. There have been lines, all the way to the back wall, people waiting to try our virtual reality space. And, I really have to thank our partners at NASA Goddard, who we came to with this idea. They were already, of course, working with virtual reality, and we said we would love to create a virtual preview museum in Oculus Rift where people can start walking through and experiencing this space. And they said, that's a great idea, we're on it. And they worked with us and designed several different virtual reality environments for folks at the con to try out, and it has been wonderful. There have been, kids, as young as 6 years old on the system, and everybody's just loving it.
What a great educational opportunity. That is wonderful. Okay, another thing coming up that we'll touch on briefly, Escape Velocity.
Escape Velocity is going to be a big event for us in National Harbor, and it is going to be a little bit like this, but not exactly like this. So it'll be kind of the intersection of cons and engineering festivals, all brought together with a Museum of Science Fiction twist, where we'll have lots of hands-on educational activities, lots of, thought-provoking panels and visitors and cosplay and you name it. So stay tuned as our planning and ticketing starts with that in the next couple months.
That is cool. So where can we learn more? You got a website, right?
We do. It's www.museumofsciencefiction.org.
Cool. Well, keep us apprised of plans as you continue on. This sounds like a great idea. And thank you for watching. This is Billie Rae Bates for Fantastic Forum.
Thank you.
We're here at North Carolina Comic Con with Fiona Staples, the artist of Saga. How are you doing today? Good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. So how daunting was it to actually take on Saga with your co-creator, Brian K. Vaughan, knowing the love that people had for Why the Last Man?
It actually made me even more excited to do Saga because I was a big fan of Why the Last Man, and I felt it was time in my career to do a big project, like a really long-form series. So, I was nervous, of course. I felt like maybe the expectations would be pretty high after, Brian is such a well-loved and famous writer. But my excitement outweighed all of that. So.
Okay. And also, I noticed that before you did a lot of creator-owned work. So how important is doing creator-owned work to you as an artist?
It's something that I really, really wanted to get back into, actually, because as you said, I started out doing independent comics, all creator-owned work. Then I sort of built a name for myself doing work for hire. I did a lot of work at Wildstorm in DC, just little jobs at Marvel and IDW and basically every other North American publisher. I really felt like it was time to do something of my own, something that I owned that would sort of pay off for me in the long run.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing how people love Saga, how important is it to you to still do Saga for yourself as opposed to basically doing fan fiction that fans would like to see?
Well, I treat Saga differently than I would my own personal work. It's still very much a job.
Right.
I mostly draw it for the other people on the Saga team.
Right.
So Brian, our letterer, Stephen Finch, who also kind of acts as our editor, he's the only one of us who's able to catch typos and stuff.
Okay.
And image publisher Eric Stevenson.
Okay.
They're the people that I run my roughs by. They're the first ones to see the pages. Really, when I'm working on it, I have them in mind.
Okay. So how much do you actually contribute to the writing process or the plot?
Nothing really. I'm not, I don't have any delusions of being a writer myself. But before we start each 6-issue story arc, Brian and I will usually meet up and have a talk about where the story's going to go. He'll ask me, what do I want to draw? What am I sick of drawing?
Okay.
And if I've done any cool designs of characters or environments or monsters, I'll show them to him, and he can work them into the plot. So I don't directly influence the plot or the story or anything, but Brian is a very collaborative guy to work with, so I do get to inject it with my personality as well.
Okay. So is there an end in sight to Saga sometime soon, or?
No, not at all. We're still going strong, so I think we've got at least another few years ahead of us. Let's hope.
Okay, we are at Toy Fair talking to Zach Oat with Diamond Select. Thank you very much for being with us, Zach.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm a huge toy geek, and I don't want to leave your booth. You've got so much cool stuff here.
We have a lot of different licenses and a lot of different product categories, and it's something different every day for the job that I have, promoting this stuff to fans, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, it must be a real easy job, too.
The product speaks for itself, so all you got to really do is get the picture out there and get the information out there, because people want to know what it looks like, people want to know where they can get it and how big it is, and my job is pretty easy. Running down, if there's something specific I want to get out in front of people, running down somebody who's going to be interested enough to do a story about it, sometimes that's tough. Most of the time I just put the information out there, and it tends to do the job itself.
Now, I say that, I'm not trying to malign you, but I just know as a collector, I am beating down the doors sometimes, and I've acquired more stuff via eBay than I would care to. So when I see something that I can actually get direct from the manufacturer, I get real excited, and sometimes I get aggressive with it. Now, do you ever have fans who are calling up and beating down the doors and basically standing outside the warehouse or the company where the stuff is manufactured trying to get it?
Oh, people are always asking where something is. We offer, through our distributor, we offer estimated release dates, and we tend to give specific dates because we want comic shop owners to know when they're going to get them on the specialty market. But, those are all estimates, and whenever they change, people are always, screaming online, not physically banging down the door, but they're posted on the Facebook and sending emails to customer service saying, where is this? When is this coming out? You know, even if it's late by a week, it's the end of the world for some people because they definitely want it, and you know, they've been looking at pictures of it for 6 months because that's how we offer it. We solicit it to retailers, you know, early so that we know how many to make, and then so people have been looking at pictures of it for 6 months, and sometimes they're the happiest when we have a retailer exclusive that they find out about 1 week and it's in stores the following week, and that's generally when they get the most happy and the most excited because there's not enough time for them to figure out what they don't like about it, and there's not enough time for them to get anxious about whether or not they're going to be able to get it. So.
Well, I've been particularly impressed with some of the licenses that you have. I mean, you know, there's some stuff like an old guy, like for example, behind you, you've got a lot of stuff from the Munsters. You know, I mean, I'm a huge Star Trek geek, a lot of Star Trek stuff. You know, I see some over on the other side there. You got some Star Wars, and I understand that you've got some other new licenses coming up for some of these new movies that are getting ready to come out.
Yeah, you know, we do have a lot of old licenses, but we're always looking at the next thing. So Iron Man 3, the new Iron Man movies are going to be one of our big pushes for the summer. The new Wolverine movie, and later on in the fall, the new Thor movie. Marvel Studios films are a big part of our Marvel license. We do also have Mini-Mates coming out based on the new Tomb Raider video game, which hits, I believe, next month. So look for that. Look for those to be hitting, you know, shortly afterwards. And you know, but that said, we do love the old properties. You know, Walking Dead is another new property that we're doing a lot of stuff with right now. Very, very popular right now, obviously. But the old properties are still great. Star Trek, we do a lot of stuff we do is classic, original series, 60s Star Trek. The Universal Monsters, you know, 1950s is the latest we go on a lot of that stuff. And you know, Star Wars, we tend to do as much of the original trilogy as we do the new stuff. And you know, the Munsters, again, another classic series. So you know, we do love the old stuff, and we just announced Lost in Space, classic TV series. So we love the old stuff and we love the new stuff, and you know, we just hope that, you know, the old school collectors are looking at our new stuff, and the new collectors are looking at our old school stuff. We like to get that cross pollination going.
Well, you know, and it's important for younger collectors to understand what has come before. You know,
they do have to be educated about where everything they love today. That it's all based on something that's come before, for the most part. Well,
I have to admit, I started salivating when you mentioned Lost in Space, and you know, have to tell the viewers that off camera you had mentioned that it's the robot that's coming. You know, this timeless, iconic character, and you know, particularly given the timeless nature of robots themselves. But you know, is there any chance, any shred of hope that collectors out there might be able to get a Diamond Select version of the Jupiter 2, the original Jupiter 2? What do you say?
You know, we always say never here at Diamond Select. So, you know, we are currently working with the Lost in Space people on Mini-Mates and an electronic B9. But, you know, right into Ask DST. The director of the company actually answers fan questions every week at our blog, artasylum.com. And he will answer every question that's sent in about whatever the subject. So if you write in and let him know that you're interested in seeing something, you know, he'll let you know what the chances are, whether it's something we've talked about, whether it's something we even can do. So definitely send those questions in if it's something that you think that would be good for the company or would be good for collectors.
Well, that's fabulous. I had no idea. Can you give a shout out on that website and the email again, please?
Sure. Artasylum.com. We're also on Facebook. You can get a link from it there. Diamond Select Toys on Facebook. Just type that in after the /. And we're also on Twitter, CollectDST. So tweet us there, and I can send you that link as well.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much. You're incredibly knowledgeable, and you make a fabulous, fabulous product. And I feel tremendously privileged to have had the opportunity to speak with you briefly here at the Toy Fair.
Thank you for coming by. You know, any chance to get the product out in front of more people who might find something they really like.
Hi, this is Kevin McGuire, and you're watching Fantastic Forum.
I'm Sherin Nicole, and today I'm hanging out at Alliance Comics in Silver Spring, sitting here with author, speaker, and Minister of Information for Hip Hop Legends, Public Enemy, and now comic book creator, Professor Griff.
Greetings, how are you?
And I'm well, how are you?
All right, maintaining.
And this is the new comic book. It is Who Stole the Soul, based on a Public Enemy song,
yes.
off of, which was it? Not Nations of Millions, it was...
Oh, you about which album?
Which album?
Public Enemy's Collection.
Ah, Public
Yeah,
Enemy's
because we did some
Collection.
remixes and some other stuff, and actually an old song.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Okay, so this is the comic book, but before we go there, I want to ask you something. I'd like to do an icebreaker. What was your first comic book? Do you remember?
Wow, I'm 55. I got some years on you, so.
Give it to me. Oh, favorite?
No, that was way back, way back when. I'm talking, yeah. I can't even remember, but yeah. It's probably a little bit before your time. It's way back when peanut butter and jelly sandwiches was popular.
Oh, really? Okay, I came in at the fluffernutter era. Okay, but so you have been in the entertainment industry for a long time, doing a lot of great things. What made you decide to make the switch to comic books?
Well, it's not necessarily a switch. I think it's a natural progression. And looking at this particular medium and using it as a vehicle, you know, and using this as a tool, mainly for parents to get a hold of it and take these lessons that I'm putting in here to bridge that gap with that next generation, especially their children. When you talk about parents in the home having that communication with their children, it's at an all-time low. Once Tay-Tay, Day-Day, and Man-Man and them get them headphones on and them beats start hitting them, they're not thinking about reading. They're not thinking about communicating with mom and dad. So maybe this could be that tool.
All right. So that's why you brought the two together, music and comic book, and that visual medium to tell the story.
Yes, but there's things in the comics that mom and dad, uncle, auntie can discuss with that next generation, yeah.
Okay, can you give us a preview of what some of those things are without spoiling it?
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to do that, man. But if we're talking about the good versus evil, which we see in a lot of the comic books, in a lot of that same kind of theme. But what if we took it back to ancient Kemet and ancient Egypt, and some of those lessons, and using some of the spiritual concepts that we as a people are accustomed to using? For example, when we're talking about alchemy, and alchemy is turning base metals into gold. But what if we're talking about doing that with humans so we can kind of get right? You understand what I'm saying?
I do, absolutely.
So things of that nature, parents don't even have to be deep in order to kind of take that and teach that valuable lesson to their children. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Talk about the comic, talk about the story, and let the child's imagination or the young person's imagination just kind of do what it do.
All right. One of the things that really struck me in the comic is your representation of hip-hop.
Right.
Well, kind of the dual face of hip-hop, neither masculine or feminine, but both.
Right.
Yeah. How did that come about? Was that your idea, the artist? Was it collaboration?
Well, none of what you see was anyone else's idea. When I talk about EP and LP in the comic book, if you're not my age and slightly younger, you don't know what EP and LP is.
And I don't.
Well, back in the day, you know, before when the 12-inch was coming to play, the 12-inch represented the long play, which is the LP.
Yeah.
And we already know what an EP is. It's just, instead of an album, you get 3 or 4 or 5 songs, it's an EP.
Yeah.
So, but EP and LP wear reflective suits. So when they go to deal with their enemy, the enemy actually sees themselves. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but when I wrote hip-hop and designed hip-hop, I wanted hip-hop to reflect the duality, the balance. We all know, dealing with natural law, when the pendulum swings one way, it's coming back. And this is how life is. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
In every man there's a woman, and every woman there's a man. So I designed hip-hop to be this androgynistic kind of duality, this kind of character, based on, once again, ancient Kemetic science, which is Ma'at, which is truth, balance, justice, and reciprocity. So it's hard for me to tell the story of hip-hop through the lens of just male perspective.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do, and I appreciate it a lot.
Right. When there's so many men today acting like, okay, yeah, we got it. All right.
All right. Another aspect of the comic is that you feature the elders prominently.
Well, back to ancient African tradition, we're not even allowed to speak unless we get the permission from the elders. Especially in the Griffin household. When I grew up, man, you talk out of turn, my mom had a wicked backhand. You understand what I'm saying? My mom ruled with an iron fist. You didn't talk out of turn. You know, you didn't speak above a whisper. God forbid if you yelled. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
That just wasn't going on in I grew up, and I'm cut from a different cloth.
Okay.
So some of them parental kind of lessons, some of those lessons,
Yes.
I had to carry over and hide them in the comic book.
Yeah.
A lot of times if you do it overtly,
People
this
don't-
generation be like, I don't want to hear it. Don't preach to me.
Yeah, I do think you have to sneak up on people with knowledge nowadays.
Exactly. And a lot of some of the semi-violence that's in it, of course you have to have some. It's probably one of the things that they kind of anticipate and wait on in the comic book.
Right. I
You
mean,
understand what I'm saying?
especially in a good versus evil kind of struggle that's kind of superheroic. The
Right.
violence, the fight, the literal fight is
Exactly.
expected. Yeah.
But every superhero, which I'm not the superhero in it, hip-hop is.
Okay.
Have its strength and its weaknesses. Mine's just, I use my superhero kind of strength is I use the black melanated wax
Yeah.
that I use as
So,
a
like
weapon.
throwing stars.
Right, exactly, because I kind of morphed the martial arts in with it.
Yeah.
Right. So if I have a situation where I need to deal with somebody and they're getting kind of out of hand, I might want to hit them with a Wu-Tang record through the throat, like protect your neck or something. You understand what I'm saying? So that's my strength. I dig through the crates.
I love it. Yeah. So tell me about the creative process, like you, how you got together with the artist, how you chose the artist.
I was in a comic book store, something similar to this, and this brother named Rod Brown had a rack full of his comics books. And I picked one up, and the lady behind the counter said, I could introduce them to you if you'd like me to. I said, yeah, because I'm thinking about doing a comic book. And from the time I left him a voicemail message, we kind of hit it off. We sat down, we mapped it out, and he was the one, Rod Brown, that took me through the process because I was clueless. So every step of the way, I approved every color, every character, every page, every line. Yeah, so.
So what was that seed, though, that seed that sprouted to you saying, I'm going to now take this message? I know that you had a purpose that we talked about earlier.
Right.
But what was the first moment where that inspiration came that you should do a comic book to take that message further and to give parents that kind of tool?
Well, I have an 8-year-old granddaughter.
Okay.
And she doesn't call me Griff. She doesn't call me Granddad. She doesn't call me Kavan, any of those things. She calls me Black Man.
Oh, yeah?
She called me Black Man because the first time her mom told her, that's your grandfather, and she was pointing to a clip of Public Enemy on stage, and we used to wear the superhero costumes, the S1Ws across
Yes.
the chest. And that's what she kind of saw, and from that day, I was Black Man.
Oh, that's very
But there was already the
cool.
Black Man comic book guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I couldn't do
think
that. So yeah, I just had to be me, Professor Griff, the ex-minister.
But you gotta love that.
But my 8-year-old granddaughter. Yeah.
Being a superhero to your granddaughter.
Yeah, I'm the superhero.
Yeah.
We should all be that to our children and our grandchildren.
I think so.
I'm the primary role model. And then when it gets too deep, I point to the ultimate role model, which is God.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Well, you also feature two of your creative counterparts in the book. I saw a cameo from Chuck D.
Chuck D and Flavor Flav, right.
Yeah. So I guess with so many years of creating together, they are kind of a part of your process a little bit?
I mean, we like connected at the ribs, so yeah, it's just one of those kind of things. We can't shake one another if we even tried. Although when Flavor did his reality show run, you barely heard of Public Enemy. So at the end of that run, people didn't even know he was in Public Enemy.
Are you kidding?
Right.
Well, I can't see any
And then even
without thinking Public Enemy.
Right, but even now, people don't associate what I do on the internet with dealing with the Illuminati's takeover of hip hop.
Yes.
With Flavor Flav, so.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
then.
but we stuck at the hip. So, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And the phone call, the elders called Public Enemy headquarters, and Flavor Flav answered the phone.
I saw
Now
that.
try to translate that information. But Chuck snatched the phone and was like, look, Griff, we need to take care of the situation because somebody kidnapped hip hop and we need to get it back.
Well, you guys have taught us we can't call 911.
No, right, because
So-
911 is a joke, right.
So are there any last words you want to leave us with on the comic, Who Stole the Soul? And it's interesting because you name it that, and that kind of gives us a clue to the storyline.
Right, my thing is, even if I told you what the story was about, it's still not giving it away. We deal with the 5 I call the formula the 5 and this is the thing that makes hip-hop. And the 5 elements of hip-hop are... Okay, that's good.
No, that's what you do.
But of course, we have to have what's going on now with perverting hip hop, which is rap, and it really wasn't rap. We never called it rap back in the days. Either you was an MC or you weren't. You was the master of ceremony or you were not. And then we have the DJ, which we equate to the djembe, which is the drum.
Yeah.
All right, now those are the main two elements. And then, of course, the graffiti, which is the graffiti. You understand? And then it's the breaking. But we said the 5 elements. So there's one element that synthesizes the 4 elements, which is knowledge of self.
Okay.
Which synthesizes the 4 elements together. And this is the thing that hip-hop is in his spirit, in his soul. And what they did was kidnap hip-hop to attach hip-hop to this machine to extract the 5 elements, which is the formula, out of hip-hop to manufacture these artists you see today. 3 Chainz and Nicki Minaj and the rest of these characters.
So,
Who should be in a damn comic book somewhere, getting the shit slapped out of them. But anyway, but go on.
That's issue number 2.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Because these artists today, they're like on a conveyor belt, man. It's like they download the program and they just need a physical body to put it in. Here you go, right out the door.
If you get me started talking about that with you,
that's the next issue.
Here, right. We will shut this place down.
We will be back. We're here at Alliance Comics in Silver Springs, Maryland. And we'll be right back. But my next comic is the ex-minister to the edge of panic.
Okay.
I'm going to resurrect Terminator X in this one. And we're going to go back through the Public Enemy kind of catalog, and we're going to drop some stuff out.
Yeah, so it'll be a different storyline. Same characters?
Well, you got to read this one and see what happens at the end of this one.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get
to know how the next one is going to start. We're not going to give it away.
All right. But it is a continuation of the story.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you, too.
Right,
it's great to meet you. I've been watching you for a long time.
Okay, you thought I was tall?
No, you are tall. You are tall.
But it's my pleasure.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much from myself and also from Professor Griff, Alliance Comics. Thanks a lot, Gerard. And we'll see you soon.
Ulysses Campbell for the Comic, Science Fiction, and Fantasy Fans Fantastic Forum. I'm here in the shadow of the Capitol with my friends from the 501st Legion in support of the effort to bring a science fiction museum to our nation's capital. If you'd like more information on how you can support this effort, contact the web address that you see on screen. Hopefully, the Force will be with us in this effort. No offense, fellas. Join the Fantastic Forum fan community on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for all the latest news and updates.